This is an NFT. That is an NFT. Anything digital can and should be an NFT. NFTs are literally saving artists financially. NFTs are actually bad for the environment. What the hell are these NFTs and why is everyone talking about them right now like it's the Bitcoin boom all over again?
What does it even stand for? National Football Toss?
Well, look, it is kind of booming right now. In case you're out of the loop, NFTs, which NFT stands for non-fungible token.
Oh, so they don't get fungus growing on them?
We'll get to it.
Personally, I think David Harvey does a great job of explaining why we are here. And even though this is a speech delivered just after the 2008 financial crisis, it also largely predicts the manifestations of investment culture and their intersection with grift culture, which we will be discussing today.
Now, in 1970, compound growth, given the size of the global economy, meant you had to find new profitable investment opportunities for something like $0.4 trillion. Now, if you want to resume 3% compound growth, you've got to find profitable opportunities for $1.5 trillion. In 20 years' time, you're going to need $3 trillion of profitable investment opportunities. And then there's a problem of the market. Where's the more going to come from at the end of the day? Where's the more money coming from, the more effective demand? Now, there's an interesting question there, where that extra effective demand is going to come from. And that effective demand, there are various ways in which it could be solved. Less and less growth has been about making real things, and more of it has been about asset bubbles and all the rest of it. In other words, you look back at the pattern, people couldn't find anything to invest in that was profitable except investing in derivatives of insurances on derivatives of insurances. And so you get more and more things of that sort, and you start to get new markets forming, which are fictitious markets.
But now we have created a whole metaverse in which to sell brand new real estate that has no inherent value, and largely because it doesn't really exist. I mean, I guess in an abstract sense, it's on a server somewhere, but that's not real enough. Or another good example of this is Bitcoin.
In 2009 arrived Bitcoin, an all-electronic peer-to-peer currency. Philosophically, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general was paraded as an end to banks and centralized currency. This is what will form the bedrock, both philosophical and technological, that NFTs will be built on top of. It's a bit of a hike from here to the Bored Ape Yacht Club, so I guess get ready for that. Of course, in the 12 years since then, none of that played out as designed. Bitcoin was structurally too slow and expensive to handle regular commerce. The whole thing basically came out the gate as a speculative financial vehicle, and so the only consumer market that proved to be a viable use was buying and selling prohibited drugs, where the high fees, rapid price fluctuations, and multi-hour transaction times were mitigated by receiving LSD in the mail a week later. And as far as banking is concerned, Bitcoin was never designed to solve the actual problems created by the banking industry, only to be the new medium by which they operated. This is a really important point to stress. Cryptocurrency does nothing to address 99% of the problems with the banking industry, because those problems are patterns of human behavior. Their incentives, their social structures, their modalities. The problem is what people are doing to others, not that the building they're doing it in has the word bank on the outside.
We have got one hell of a story for you today, folks. I mean, these days we hear about cryptocurrency heists every couple of days. It's old hat. The values range from maybe a couple $1,000s all the way up to tens or even hundreds of millions of dollars being stolen from exchanges and wallets and every sort of way imaginable. Usually these anonymous cyber burglars disappear, never to be found. Recently, the US Department of Justice arrested the people that they say were behind what is arguably the biggest ever crypto heist, valued at $4.5 billion.
With a B, $billion.
And, well, here you go. Here's the Bonnie of the cryptocurrency, Bonnie and Clyde.
Everyone knows what's proper, but not right. No shame, that won't stop her. Blindly following rules is for fools. Instead, I work the edge cases with my tools. Awkward as fuck. Actually, like a world nurse, you better duck. This bitch is Turkish.
Here's Reuters with the basic facts surrounding this case. The US Justice Department said on Tuesday it had unraveled its biggest ever cryptocurrency theft, seizing a record-shattering $3.6 billion in Bitcoin tied to the 2016 hack of digital currency exchange Bitfinex and arresting a husband and wife team on money laundering charges.
The pair is accused of conspiring to launder 119,754 Bitcoins stolen after a hacker broke into Bitfinex and initiated more than 2,000 unauthorized transactions. Justice Department officials said the transactions at the time were valued at $71 million in Bitcoin, but with the rise in the currency's value, the value now is over $4.5 billion.
It's a currency that is inherently incapable of being a functional currency. It's nothing more than a new fictitious product to financialize and inject into the investments arena because there's just so much money out there outside of our financial markets being saved for a rainy day and isn't out there inventing new products that we can capitalize on and bring back that 3% growth at minimum. So if American capitalism at all resembles a Ponzi scheme designed to benefit the financiers, then this might explain why Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies like this are kind of like this by default, in that this is the environment that they grew up in. I mean, the whole idea here is that people who buy in really early while this product is cheap will be able to hold out and have something worth enormous amounts.
You have all this crypto, you can't meaningfully spend it, and there's not enough buyers for you to get it out. In order for you to cash out, you need to convince someone else to buy in. These factors, taken holistically, mean that cryptocurrency is a bigger fool's scam. The whole thing operates by buying worthless assets, believing that you will later be able to sell them to a bigger fool. The entire structure of cryptocurrencies at their basic level of operation is designed to deliver the greatest rewards to the earliest adopters, regardless of if you're talking about proof of work or proof of stake. This is inherent to their being. As Stephen Deal put it, these schemes around crypto tokens cannot create or destroy actual dollars, they can only shift them around. If you sell your crypto and make a profit in dollars, it's only because someone else bought it at a higher price than you did, and then they expect to do the same, and so on ad infinitum. Every dollar that comes out of cryptocurrency needs to come from a later investor putting a dollar in. Crypto investments cannot be anything but a zero-sum game, and many are actually massively negative-sum. In order to presume a crypto investment functions as a store of value, we must simultaneously need to suppose an infinite chain of greater fools who keep buying these assets at any irrational price and into the future forever.
Whereas by the time Bitcoin was being taken seriously and you, not the early adopter, were seeing most grifters trying to get you into it, sure, it was going up every once in a while, but you were just as likely to lose the majority of your value right away as you were to gain anything. With a lot of the new coins that are being pushed out, most of them just turn out to be rug pulls.
The market is just absolutely lousy with fraud and deception. Wash trading, where you sell something to your own sock puppets in order to lure in real buyers who think they're getting a good deal, is rampant. Market manipulation is so common and accepted that it's actually considered bad form if project leaders don't actively engage in it. Like, it's considered disrespectful to the buyers if the project leaders don't help them inflate the resale price.
In the weird world of NFTs, there is something sinister going on where criminals are making off with millions with what's called a rug pull. You simply build a following of degenerates that are hungry for a quick buck, you create an NFT project, you build insane hype by promising them the world, and then when your project sells out, then comes the rug pull. You delete everything, disappear, and voila. You just made off with millions of dollars in the span of just a few weeks.
All right, listen, we've been trying as best we can to not turn into the dumb NFT news show, but this week there's just so much goddamn dumb, non-fungible token news that we can't just hide the NFT crap at the end of the episode. It's gotta happen right now.
You have to understand where we're coming from here. This is a tech show, and for whatever reason, it is not our desire for this to happen.
Yeah,
but
we didn't choose for the tech industry to try to make Web3 happen.
No, they
went ahead and did it.
Forcefully trying to for absolutely no reason, so every new thing that happens is in some way related to stupid ass tokenomics, Web3, or NFTs. And yeah, I'm sick of it too, but some of it's very funny because it keeps blowing up in people's faces.
Yeah, and maybe if we make fun of it long enough together, all together, something might happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's just get right into the latest huge NFT project to completely screw over its customers. And this time, it's an NFT project that seemed as legit as could be.
Or at least as legit as any other celebrity-endorsed NFT project.
Legendary rock star Ozzy Osbourne announced crypto bats last month. And as NFTs go, this all seemed very on the level. Osbourne had teamed up with established players in the NFT space and even released a video in which he and his wife Sharon dropped all the right NFT insider buzzwords. NGMI, probably nothing, all that crap.
Good morning.
But just 2 days after launching, a bunch of CryptoBats holders got scammed out of a bunch of money. Oh my God.
Who could have seen this coming? Here's The Verge with the breakdown on this particular scam.
My copy of Grey by E.L. James is strictly unique. While millions of copies of the book exist, this is the only copy that is this copy. And this is the only copy that has the very specific damage of being glued shut and thrown into the Bow River. It is also strictly scarce. While millions of copies of Grey exist, that's still a finite number, meaning it is possible, though not immediately practical, for the world to run out of copies. NFTs impose a simulacrum of this physical scarcity and uniqueness onto digital objects within their ecosystem.
And now, in addition to the legitimacy that NFTs have gotten from being auctioned off for tons of money at auction houses that usually sell more traditional physical art, another sign that NFTs really are art is that people are stealing them.
Yes. I just want to kick in here really quick and say, we know you're tired of hearing about NFTs. So am I.
It's the only thing that's going on.
Look, this has dominated the tech news cycle for the past couple of weeks.
Everything's crypto, everything's NFTs.
Yeah, you're tired of it because we weren't the first to break the news on it, but we were one of the first news channels to really talk about it. As far as so now everyone's like, okay, look, this is tech news. It's going to be happening for a while.
Yeah.
We are sorry. Bear with us. Now, previously, art theft involved breaking into museums in the middle of the night and snatching paintings off the wall to sell to rich weirdos on the black market. But with NFTs, it's actually a bit less complicated and also way less cool.
Yeah, so a rug pull is a very common term. I mean, the metaphor is that you get all these people all excited, they're on a rug, and you pull it out from under them, right? And so essentially what we see with a lot of these scam projects essentially is that they make all the promises in the world, tell them this is the next best NFT. They use a lot of predatory marketing tactics just to get everyone to buy their project. And once everyone buys the NFTs, the project sells out, they just delete the Discord and goes.
But even in a functioning cryptocurrency economy or an NFT economy, it is still inherently a decentralized Ponzi scheme, or I guess a grifting platform, if you prefer. You only get into this because someone promised you that they know a way to invest money that will get you a huge and seemingly unrealistic return. And what you end up finding out is that the only way that you can get the huge return is if you can find someone who's approximately twice the sucker you are and convince them that they can find someone who's approximately twice the sucker they are. The whole idea of Web3, where this plan to build a new iteration of the internet built on the blockchains, you realize this is fundamentally unstable. Most Web3 projects, the power of the blockchain wouldn't actually even run most of the services. So they operate on normal Web 2.0. In fact, most of the services wouldn't even be able to run on the blockchain, and if they did, it would be unfeasible because of enormous gas fees.
As of December 2021, the daily average cost of gas hasn't gone below $50 US since August, with the 3-month daily average riding over $130. And that's just the daily average. The hourly price can and does swing by up to 2 orders of magnitude. The throughput of blockchains is so abysmal that transaction slots are auctioned off to the highest bidder. That's why these numbers are so extreme. It only takes a few high rollers competing on a transaction to drive the hourly price of gas up over $1,000 US.
You know, that would just immediately make it unprofitable to do so. So these gas fees, which are packed onto every transaction and interaction made with the blockchain, meaning that blockchain-based computing would be ridiculously expensive in gas fees alone, not to mention all the electrical output of running the blockchain, mining your cryptocurrencies, etc. But as we saw in the case of the 2 scammers who were looking to launder their $5 billion in ill-gotten cryptocurrencies, it's very hard to get rid of Bitcoin. I mean, first of all, there's the fees. Second of all, they were trying not to get caught by the feds. But at the same time, the government just found their keys and took all of their money. Like, sure, there was this added hurdle of having to find the keys, but it's far from impossible. But it is true that the blockchain itself has created new interactions that are not yet regulated by the government. And there were many ways in which governments don't have a means through which to react or would have to make one in order to interact with these blockchain-based grifts. And for the most part, this seems to only serve people who want to scam in that arena.
It's an ecosystem that absolutely demolishes consumer protections and makes the re-implementation of them extremely difficult.
So the whole enterprise, from its bedrock foundation all the way up to every single iteration of itself, is just built on lies and makes promises that it inherently cannot fulfill, while at the same time the only thing that it seems to do is create a framework through which you can easily be stolen from or scammed, and there will be nothing that anyone can do to help you. Facebook and the mess that they're currently in right now is an excellent example of this. Their share of the world's consumers has been increasing by several percent for many years, but that doesn't matter in this moment because it's not going up right now. It doesn't matter that their consumer base is still like half the world. It doesn't matter that you've gotten to be that big. If you're not constantly growing, you're worthless to investors. And if you're worthless to investors, they sell your stocks and they become worthless because no one will want to buy them after that. And for Facebook, this represents the biggest drop in their share price ever, simply because they lost a few percent of that huge number. Because the market demands growth, it doesn't care how widespread, effective, worker, customer-oriented your project is. They just care that it makes 3% more money every year. And if you can't do that, the investors bail on it. And the very real process of voting with your dollar that we hear about, that allows only the investor class of capitalists to effectively dictate en masse what all of our major institutions, organizations, and corporations do through their share prices. I'm all for the idea of democratizing corporations through a crowdsourced means. It's an excellent idea. My fear here is the only people who are able to do it are the super wealthy. Because when money buys you the votes, the person with the most money gets the most votes. The many people with no extra money to spend on stock options get no food at all. The vast majority are made completely silent. So if we had a choice in how our nation's corporations were run collectively, I would be for that. But allowing the super rich to demand nothing more than profit, 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 so that they can sit on their asses and watch their money make money for them while all of us suckers work, well, that's not democracy. And there's a Web3 product that actually replicates this exact issue, and it's called the DAO.
Anyways, moving on now to another story of crypto theft, but this time involving a decentralized autonomous organization, or DAO. So proponents of DAOs say that they're the future of everything from running a business to democracy itself. But so far, the biggest stories to come out of DAOs that we've seen have involved a group trying and failing to buy the US Constitution, another group successfully buying a rare storyboards book and then thinking that that means they own the rights to the Dune franchise, and another group who thought that they could just flagrantly violate Magic the Gathering copyrights and be so successful at it that they would be able to just buy the rights to Magic the Gathering. So not great overall. That's 0 for 3 there. But,
what about the city, the DAO city?
Oh yeah, City DAO. They're like, how hard could it be to build an entire city?
We'll see.
Couldn't be that hard. We'll just do it on the blockchain.
Decentralized autonomous organizations, or DAOs, are blockchain groups that are supposed to be democratic. They are the part of Web3 that gets people very excited. They can, boosters say, replace corporate structures and create a system where people have votes according to how much work they put into the DAO. This sounds okay in theory, but a group called Build Finance DAO just suffered a coup in which one person amassed enough tokens to get a vote passed, then voted to give themselves full control of the DAO, then, using this power, took all the money. In a sense, the DAO did replace a corporate activity with its own version, the hostile takeover.
while I listened to this idea with interest when it was first proposed, like every other Web3 product, it just turns out to be an easy way to carry out a scam, and the promises that it makes about how it will change things like citizen democracy ultimately just are lies that allow people to get a better platform for scamming. Because at its heart, all the Web3 or any of its products are just a good platform for scamming that forces you to buy bitcoins to get anything and further perpetuates that scam. Web3 is a solution in search of a problem, and that solution is buy Bitcoin.
NFTs are entirely for the benefit of the crypto grifters. The only purpose the artists serve is as aspiring suckers to pump the concept of crypto, and of course to buy cryptocurrency to pay for minting NFTs. Sometimes the artist gets some crumbs to keep them pumping the concept of crypto. The rush benefits them in two ways. First, the price of Ether itself goes up directly from the spike in demand. Between January and May, the price of Ether rose from $700 to $4,000. And second, there's new actual buyers who aren't just trading Bitcoin for Tether for Ether and back again, but are buying in with dollars, providing the whole system with the liquidity needed for whales to actually cash out. This arrangement, needing to buy a highly volatile coin from people who paid far, far less for it in order to participate in a market that they control, is why people reflexively describe the whole arrangement as a scam. If you buy in at $4,000 and compete against people who bought in at $4, you're the sucker. It reveals the basic truth that these aren't marketplaces, they're casinos. And indeed, even through all the rhetoric of protecting artists and whatnot, was the ever-present specter of the gamble. Whatever you buy now might be worth hundreds of times more later. Constantly invoked as the opposite proposition of the bad deal. What if you had been the person who bought in at $4?
Now, you, my humble listener, are probably not a boomer. You're probably not a person who only consumes cable corporate media stations, so you've likely heard many online influencers speaking out, good and bad, about these Web3 products. Like, if you happen to follow my old Instagram account, you'll see a lot of spam for crypto because I got hacked. Instagram won't give me my account back. It's just spamming crypto stuff under my name forever. I mean, what do you do? It's a very honest organization that has to resort to stealing real people's accounts so that they can pretend that they're them. So that it seems like they're an honest individual. Like, who do you have to be that seems... They just want to make it seem like, your friend is telling you how much money they made in crypto. And you would think if they made that much money in crypto, they could just, invest like rich people instead of stealing Instagram accounts to form a giant crypto spamming botnet. You know what I mean? I think these are probably the lowest of the low of the Web3 scammers. Like, this is the true dirtbag that you're most likely to hear about on the mainstream news. But the real problem with Web3 that's going to be ignored by these big outlets instead being covered by more independent media organizations in this, or, especially the tech-oriented ones. It's typically because a lot of these corporations right now that you're watching the news be produced from, like, AT&T, Disney, these are big companies that are kind of eyeing whether or not they should get into NFTs themselves. So do you think that they want a bunch of stories about how NFTs are essentially scams? No, that might hurt their investments. And while some of the big crypto coin rug pulls and controversies have made the news, things like this typically don't. And it's because they're a new form of grifting, or not necessarily a new form of grifting, but a spike in grifting in an old way. And this is ripping off the wealthy. If you're being completely honest, this is basically the proposition with buying an expensive NFT. Sure, you're paying a lot for what is essentially a receipt that says that you own a link to a JPEG. And, that link might break, making your NFT completely worthless but as this person just proved by selling it to you for $10,000 when they bought it for $5,000, there are other richer, more gullible idiots out there who might buy this thing for $10 10, 20. It's an opportunity to double your money by finding someone richer and dumber than yourself. If this was the poor ripping off the rich, I'm sure we would hear about as much about it on the news as we're hearing about these other crime waves that are affecting grocery store owners. But this is the moderately wealthy ripping off the moderately more wealthy, ripping off the rich, ripping off the super rich. And we've seen some big millionaires getting in on this and trying to push it. So many real, normal working class folk can see how much of a scam this is. What are you buying that could possibly be worth so much? How could that image be worth that much? Even if the funny thing is they can't, even if you got the image, even if you got the copyright to the image, how could it be worth that much? And the funny thing is they can't defend themselves, and it helps them realize that fundamental proposition with an NFT that they can't admit that they're just looking for someone even richer and even dumber to buy this damn thing off of them like a game of wealthy hot potato. And while you might see this as just rich people ripping off other rich people, make no mistake, this is not taxation. This is not wealth redistribution. This is dishonest people consolidating wealth by scamming stupid people. Stupid people just happen to be more wealthy than the usual retirees that get targeted in our phone scams. So this shouldn't really be compared to Robin Hood, who stole from the rich to give to the poor. This is really only Robin stealing from the rich.